love a good story. Stories of love and life. Stories that entertain and inspire. And the best stories are the ones that happen to be true. Every Friday night, Jack Devnarain is live in conversation with an iconic South African personality who shares the true stories that shape their remarkable lives. Join us for reality radio as real as it gets. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Friday night, only on 919.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. You're listening to 919. My name is Jack Devnarain and this is Reality Radio. It's as real as it gets every Friday night when we have a guest live in studio to talk about the incredible stories that shaped their remarkable lives. Tonight, my very, very good friend, actor, producer, Tumisho Masha, in studio with us. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me, Jack. And I must say, since you moved to Ilovo, things have changed about you, buddy. You know, before you were Jack Devnarain,
yeah,
and now you got to Ilovo and like you've just like it's Devnarain. I found that that's really cool.
Never ever said that, but I have to say over the years that I've known you, I've always admired your pretentiousness.
Yeah.
I
mean that pretentiousness is real.
No, it's not fake
right.
at all.
No, it's not fake pretentious. It's real pretentious.
No.
Yeah.
And also your complete you have a very conscious vanity about you.
Well, I think it comes from years and years of going to private school and living a privileged life.
I love that. Yes.
Generally, yeah.
See, I was looking for a way to start a conversation with
Sorry.
I was wondering, how do we start a conversation with one of the most iconic performers, actor, producer, leading men in the country? And it'll have to start with private school. I think that's right.
Yeah, look, for my sins, that's where I learned how to actually become an entertainer. It was 1983, Jack. I don't even know how to speak English. I walk into a class. I'm the only black kid, right? All the white kids turn around and look at me like I was lost. Like, dude, the janitor's office is that way.
Yeah, you made a mistake walking in here.
And somehow I figured the only way to survive is I have to become a performer.
Oh, wow.
Otherwise, these guys are going to swallow me up. They're going to eat me right up.
No. So was there an element of fear then, or being absolutely intimidated out of your mind, do you think?
I mean, it's the 1980s Pretoria, the capital of apartheid South Africa, and here I am walking into this place. And the only white people I've ever interacted with up to that point is the people my grandparents work for. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is absolutely terrifying for me. But I think it's one of the best things that ever happened to me because I learned how to actually be unafraid.
So you became a performer and it brought out a certain strength and confidence in you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So, but it wasn't then a mask or a facade. You had to be that guy.
I had to be that guy for, that was it. From that day on, I was that guy. And I think there were elements of that guy already.
Yeah.
Growing up, I mean, even going to school in the township in Garangua, I was very drawn to wanting to be the leading man. I mean, I remember getting to primary school for the first time, and I got there quite young because they allowed that stuff. There was no like developmental stages. They were just like, you're 4 years old. You should be at a big school now.
You should be working.
Yeah, you should pretty much be working. But before we get you there, go to big school. And I remember the younger kids had to take part in this like pretend wedding at the end of the school year. And I knew I had to be the groom.
Oh, really?
Because that was the leading man spotlight. I got to wear a suit and be like James Bond.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you had in your mind already this image of where you wanted to be and how people were going to regard you also, right?
Yeah.
So did you make a good groom?
I think I made a pretty excellent groom. I was conscientious. I understood that the role entailed that I had to hold this girl's hand at a time that boys thought girls were yuck. And I was like, this is great. This is for girls are not that bad, actually.
And did you remember your lines? I do.
I struggle with that. I think, as someone who's been married as many times as I have, I think maybe that's where I got it from because every year I'd get married. So I carried that into adulthood.
You make it sound so dramatic. You were only married twice, right?
This is my third marriage.
Your third. Okay, you're doing well.
I know.
All
Hopefully
right.
this one lasts,
Yeah, but I mean, the last time I saw you, I haven't seen you for so many years.
Yes.
And then we shot that wonderful pilot.
Yeah.
Do you remember? We were out in a graveyard. We were in a
graveyard.
cemetery.
Yeah, and it started to snow.
And it started to snow.
It was the most amazing day ever. We were hoping it was going to be a sunny day.
Yeah.
As a producer, I was thinking, oh my gosh, we've just blown the budget on today because we're not going to work. I'm going to have to send Jack home, and his daily fee is what cost me like the entire crew. And then someone said, let's just shoot in the snow. And I was like, actually, that's a good idea. It turned out amazing.
It was absolutely incredible. And I have to say, I remember because I was wearing it was the most incredible headgear. I was in dreadlocks.
You make an amazing looking Rasta. If like this whole acting thing doesn't work out, you should really become a like edibles dealer.
Okay, that's just way out there. I'm a little bit terrified right now, but I think, look, if Tumisho can sell it in the way he presented my character and the way
you look like a great tie-dye salesman. I'm sorry just to jump in there, but you look like a great tie-dye salesman.
I should be like the junior manager at Cool Runnings or something.
Exactly. Like you were fantastic in that.
So I have I was still immersed in this look that we created because he had the hat and the dreads and everything. So I took a picture, a selfie, right, at the graveyard before we started shooting. Yeah. And I'll share that pic with you because it is absolutely clear blue sky.
Oh, wow. Was it before? It was before we started shooting.
Before we started shooting, we were already, we had blocked and everything.
Yes.
And within half an hour,
boom,
it was snowing.
It all changed. And it was beautiful.
So that for me was the biggest surprise. Literally clear blue skies into snow in a graveyard.
Exactly right.
On a
shooting a horror movie.
This is a year ago.
It's exactly a year ago.
Yeah. So that's the amazing thing is that I don't get a chance to see you all that often.
Yeah.
But it was a good reunion, and I could see then how happy you were being a married guy.
I'm very happy being married. I love being married. I must say that. I think it's natural for a heterosexual man at a certain age to want to be with someone like a woman for the rest of their lives, unless like you got. I don't want to say negative things, but generally it feels natural to me and it feels good and I like it. I think the most important thing is being yourself, the person you want to be with. You know what I mean? Before you look for, you say, I want this and I want that and I want that. I heard somewhere someone was saying this. He's like quite a spiritually advanced guy, and he was like, he wrote all the things that he wanted in his partner and his wife. Yeah. And then a voice said to him, now be those things.
Oh, that's beautiful. So I can imagine that you would have written down the best, not just of what you wanted in your wife, but you had to be that as well. There are going to be more stories in reality radio because after the break, coming back to Tumisho Masha and even more of the drama to come.
Looking to make a difference? Join us at Little Eden Society and become part of changing lives. Your support can provide lifelong care to 300 children and adults living with profound intellectual disability. Whether it's through volunteering, donating, or spreading the word, every action counts. For more information, visit littleeden.org.za or call us on 011 609 7246. Creating a brighter future for those in need, together.
We all love a good story. Stories of love and life. Stories that entertain and inspire. And the best stories are the ones that happen to be true. Every Friday night, Jack Devnarain is live in conversation with an iconic South African personality who shares the true stories that shape their remarkable lives. Join us for reality radio as real as it gets. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Friday night, only on 919.
It's reality radio on a Friday night. We are back. It's me, Jack Devnarain. Tonight, talking to Tumisho Masha. Tumisho, in that very chair is a very, very good friend of ours. Somebody who started his career on a show that we were both involved in. And he has grown to be one of the most incredible content producers around. Sanele Zulu.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what?
definitely.
He sat there and he was just, he was so thankful that he got to work with you, and he couldn't stop talking about the wonderful things you had done for him.
I mean, that guy has just, he pays it for, like, I'm trying to find the right words, but I can't. But he makes trying to do something, like, I don't want to make it a big deal that, oh, I went out of my way to help this kid or whatever. But I just like, okay, what do we do about this situation? Just come with me to work. Let's see what happens. I'll pay you to be my assistant. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the way he embraced that opportunity and saw it for what it was,
Oh,
and
man.
ran with it, makes me grateful to him.
Yes.
Because he showed me what life is really all about.
Yeah.
That with the right amount of humility,
Yeah.
and the right vision to see that everything in life that's handed to you, no matter how difficult it might seem at first, is a great opportunity.
And
for growth.
I have the greatest respect for him in what he did with the opportunity that was afforded him.
Yeah, he inspires me every day when I think about what he did
Yeah.
with that opportunity.
Yeah. And he's so much younger than you.
Yeah, he is. He's quite a few years. I mean, probably 10. 10? Yeah,
Yes.
10 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's getting on as well now, eh?
He is, hey? So, what does it feel like? Because I remember when I started working with you on Isidingo,
Years
it was a
ago.
wonderful time.
You were still a young man.
I used to be young and beautiful.
Yeah. People don't know that, Jack.
No. See, and I've got to
You were
remind
a
them.
very handsome guy. I there were moments when I was like, this bugger, he's going to take my female viewership, you know?
Yeah. And I
I
don't,
had to, yeah.
I don't regret doing it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You took a lot off my hands because I had quite a lot on my hands, you know.
Yeah, it was part of my service to you as a friend. But I
I'm so glad
remember,
we're so humble as well, you know.
I did say to you, I remember very clearly because our dear friend, the late Ashley Kelly, was there in the scene
Yeah,
with us.
man.
And I was just looking at the two of you thinking, I look at her and I think, Famke Janssen.
Right.
And I look at you and I see Larry Fishburne.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah,
just, it struck me as how fortunate am I to be amongst this kind of talent. It was beautiful.
We had some great times. I just remember going to work every day and being happy to be at work.
Yeah.
And being happy not only to be around super talented people. I mean, working with you, you don't know how much your sense of discipline and your sense of you know what you're doing. So you're a talented person, but you never took it for granted, right? And every day you'd come to work and you'd be prepared and you'd be on top of your game, and it inspired me to go, okay, I also need to come with that energy
I
to
love
work.
that. That's
you know?
amazing.
But like, not only was everyone super talented and disciplined and skilled, but there were such good people.
Yes,
You wanted to be around them all day.
that's right. That's right. And it also made
Robert
sense. then.
Whitehead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, just going back to our friend Sanele Zulu, he fitted into that so
Yeah.
perfectly
He's-
from day one.
He slotted right in to
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And we're still inspired by that. I mean, firstly, and this is just to go back to that performer in you, do you still feel like you're 10 years old playing when you're on that set? Doesn't it? Does
Every time.
every time, hey?
Every time. It's why I do it. It's there's nothing that feels like it in the whole world, because you get to go to work to play
To play, exactly.
all day
Beautiful.
long. And it's so therapeutic and it's so healing. A lot of people don't realize that while we're going through all this stuff, a lot of stuff is happening in our personal lives that actually can be quite traumatic, can
Yeah.
be quite hard. But for that time that you're on set, none of that matters,
Yeah.
because you don't have time to think about it.
Because you commit to that moment in that scene, in that
Exactly
character.
right. It's
Yeah.
the most present you'll ever be, and it's a beautiful gift because you get to step away from the mundaneness of everyday life for a few hours, and that kind of balance, I think makes you a better human being all around. Generally,
That's a real thing, hey, because I know there are people like you and I, we well practiced in it. So if we needed to self-reflect,
yes.
a moment where something has gone wrong, a moment where we might have said something or somebody's done something, we are processing the stuff all the time within us because we are performers and we're used to it.
Yeah.
And I always wondered what it would be like, and I've no doubt somewhere in the world people are doing this. But in order to process your own thoughts, feelings, traumas, and all of that, there must be acting therapy that allows you as a modality to do that?
I think so, because I think as actors, we never waste a moment of pain.
Or an experience.
Any experience is something that we go, I gotta put that in my little notebook for next time, right?
Yes.
I've remembered many times feeling my worst, like at my lowest, crying my eyes out and going, I must remember this.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you go, oh gosh, why am I doing this? In that moment, you just go, why am I actually here feeling like this? Life is really not that bad. So that for me is the therapy of being an actor. And also the sense of going inside your own head a lot of the times to come back with those memories and synthesize them so that you can use them again.
It's a very powerful tool, and I remember this because a number of times, I in a previous life when I was still in the police, if you are in the dock and you are arresting officer and you have got to now recount moment by moment to either the to the prosecutor or to the defense attorney, you have got to be so specific, not just in how you remembered the scene as it unfolded, but you also got to use the right words.
Exactly right.
So the marriage of language with experience was already hardwired into me because of that. Because let me tell you that being in the dock is the loneliest place in the world.
It's all you, baby.
It's all you. That's
It's all
right.
you. I've had my experiences.
Did you? Mm-hmm. What was that about?
My ex-wife accused me of assaulting her.
Ah, okay.
And so I had
this.
to go through the case, which I think was the most wonderful thing for someone in that situation, especially if you've I think sometimes if you've been falsely accused, to get the chance to defend yourself and have something ventilated in a court of law is better than it just ends at an accusation, especially on social media.
Because then it doesn't end.
Then it doesn't end, right? It just sits there and you are stuck. But to have it ventilated means that we're going to look at it from every single side. And I remember being up there and going, the crazy thing about being in the dock is, even if you know what the truth is, as you said, if you don't frame it in a certain way, if you don't use the right words, it could cost you.
Oh, yeah.
It can cost you.
Oh, it can be one word.
Right.
And they will use that word and hold it against you and beat you with it every single time.
Yeah.
What did you have a sense of betrayal going through that entire experience? Yeah, I mean, it went on for a few years.
I
right?
did. I had a massive sense of betrayal, also because it was in a public domain. It resulted in my career being stalled for a while. It was the beginning of the cancel culture. It was at the height of, I think, what we were going through in this country, which is very serious when it comes to gender-based violence, and kind of becoming the negative poster child for that was very confusing for me, because I felt like, hang on, just a couple of months ago, I was a kind of a champion of this, and now I'm kind of the pariah and the negative face for it. So things had kind of flipped on their head for me. So it was a very tough time to go through that. And I think one thing about being falsely accused of something is that it's sometimes harder to defend than if you know you've done something wrong. Yeah,
because there is a moment where the lady doth protest too much.
And also, it's very confusing because you're like, that's not how it happened, and you're questioning yourself, like, am I the crazy one?
Oh, yeah, that's horrible, eh? Because you checking yourself to see whether that doubt is enough to undo you, even though you think you remember the correct flow of events and the logical sequence. Something in there can make you trip yourself up, and then now suddenly you are looking at yourself as, maybe I was.
Maybe I did it.
Maybe I did.
Yeah.
That's a horrible moment.
That's a horrible moment, and it's very tough. It's I always liken it to if something like that happens, it's harder because you don't have the story to back it up.
Yeah.
Right. If you did something and like you committed a crime, you kind of this is how I'm going to say this. Then at that point I'm going to do that, and I'm going to say that, and you have a good story. But if you haven't done something and some things connect and some things don't, it makes you confused in terms of, but that's not how I remember it, and you're not sure if you can trust your own memory, your own self.
Yeah,
which is very scary.
That's a difficult thing to do. And you know also that you never want to come across as that guy who, number one, being a champion for women's rights, as I know you've always been, being a champion, for the 16 days of activism, champion for gender-based violence, to stop the violence.
Yeah.
To be in that position where people are looking at you and saying, you are the one who's perpetrating it, you hypocrite. Now to have to defend that.
It's a tough thing, I must say. It made me think a lot about some of the things that we do as a society. And it made me very sensitive towards even things like, I think sometimes in South Africa, we forget that for us to have the freedoms that we enjoyed, everybody got involved. And there was a time, especially on social media, that it became very black and white in the very sense of the word, where it was like, all black people were involved in our liberation and all white people and everyone else who was not black was not. And that was that's a big untruth, And I can imagine someone who spent their whole life who is not black and African having fought for the rights of people who are black and African, and now having to deal with, was I not there in the 80s? Did I not like go to jail in the 70s or have to go to exile? Because I'm not sure what's going on here. And I think as a nation, I'm kind of excited about the GNU. I know people who are more politically astute might think I'm crazy, but in a way, it helps us see once again that actually our government needs all types for it to work.
I think,
and that's what's been missing for some time.
The GNU perhaps is the perfect indication of the need to have that kind of diversity of views. I like this theme that we are on now when it comes to a sense of betrayal. I mean, there you were in Pretoria, and you one of the very few black kids in the class of white people. Many of them were supportive of racial integration, of a new constitutional order, of a new democracy.
Yeah, at a time when it was very difficult, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what really strikes me now, because I hear a lot of it, I see a lot of it in the media, are those voices amongst many black people who feel as if they were betrayed by Nelson Mandela. And I cannot get my mind around this.
Garbage. I think what's happened is sometimes as South Africans, and I'm going to speak in general terms, I'm not only going to point a finger at black people in general, but all of us, we expected the freedom that Nelson Mandela kind of helped us get to come with no responsibility. And when we realize that, actually, we still have a lot of work to do. Like the economic side of things it's not gonna come for free. And we misunderstood the whole thing of triple BE and affirmative action.
Yeah.
In many ways, I think a lot of us felt that I've been an actor a long time. I've done it quite well. I should be able to walk into any media house and say, "Hi, I'm here. Make me a partner."
Yeah, pay me.
Pay me. And that's not how it works. The playing fields have been leveled, but it means you still got to get out there, bust your ass and play.
You got to pitch up, and that's the big thing that we hope you're going to do after the short break. Pitch up, because it is reality radio with me and Tumisho Masha.
So you want to be a good Joburger? Well, now it's easier than ever. Get down to any Burger King in Johannesburg and order your favorite meal. Take a picture of your till slip and WhatsApp it off to 065-503-0439. And we could be calling you back to win the entire value of your meal in vouchers. Then we give you the opportunity to be a good Joburger and select a charity of your choice, and we'll be sending them some burgers as well, all on your behalf. Only with Burger King and 919 FM.
919 has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, programming that is not harmful to children and that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. If you think we're not living up to that code, you can inform the BCCSA. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa to PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024, or email the BCCSA at napsa.co.za. For more information, visit the bccsa.co.za.
And we're back with reality radio on a Friday night. Tumisho, Do you still have contact with you trained at WITS, right? You graduated from WITS.
Yes.
You still have contact with the old department there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have contact with some of the people that I went to school with there that either were a little bit ahead of me or in my year. We have a little group, and some of them are now either in institutes that are public institutes or private institutes that have got to do with the world of television, film, and theatre and the arts.
Okay, so if people at that time are still very much involved to some extent in the industry.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
in
a
some
good
way,
thing.
some shape or form.
I remember coming out of the University of Natal, now UKZN, and I had done like 2 years of drama. And if I look back now...
But wait, you qualified as a lawyer?
No, I had done an undergraduate law degree.
Ah, there you go.
And then I went into law enforcement.
Yes.
So I never got to do the LLB and all of that.
All right, cool.
And part of me is very grateful. But I made a lot of close friends in the drama department, as you do, because our work is so collaborative in the creative space. And I'm thinking back now, and I can honestly say that in a group of about 40 or so people, there may be about 3 that's still related to the industry in some way, in a professional capacity.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
terrible. It's tragic.
I mean, out of 10, only 30% made it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, 3 out of 40 people.
Oh, out of 40 is even worse.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Oh no, that's terrible. I'm sorry. I saw it the other way around. That's very, very sad that so many people and I think also from WITS, not everyone is kind of involved in some way. A lot of people left completely. I think what's happened is, and hopefully it can come back, we still need a lot of the institutes that were around in the old days, in the apartheid years. And I think one thing that the NP government did really, really well is they understood the importance of culture as the soul of a nation. And that you've got to get systems in place that keep people involved and that are sort of institutionalized. It's got its good and its bad, but ultimately people can then work in the arts, because ultimately we're artists, but we still got to go and work.
This is a big question. It really is. And let me formalize the question. Is the creative sector sustainable for creative artists today?
Not so much today.
Okay.
And I think the reason for that is we've forgotten about the importance of laying a foundation of good infrastructure.
Yeah.
Having places for people to go and be artistic, because art needs to happen in spaces, right?
Yeah.
You need a theater space. You need galleries that are backed by the government. You need a thriving public broadcaster, from radio to television to film. And once you have all those things in place, then you have all the people, you have all the crew who are going to be set builders, who are going to be costume makers, who are going to be in makeup. And then you have the artists who step in there, who are going to be dancers, who are going to be broadcasters, who are going to be presenters and DJs and actors and singers. And that sort of thing, and magicians and whatnot.
Yeah, you're right. So somebody's paying for that space, and there's got to be some kind of a pipeline, so that there's an incubator. You're growing your raw talent, you're giving it shape and direction. By the time they come out, chances are they're going to find themselves working in some meaningful way, contributing to the industry.
Yeah, and it's really important, because outside of it just creating work, it also does something for the nation. The problem with our nation is a lot of our people, the masses in the township now, do not entertain themselves through entertainment. They entertain themselves at the tavern, the shebeen, or the nightclub. So people have a little bit of spending money. And what used to happen in the old days is people like Gibson Kente used to come to the town halls with this show, and they used to come through, and that people would have something to do on a Friday night. There'd be places called Devnarain, which is basically a shebeen or nightclub, but with his live music. So it's not just we're going out to just get sloshed. We're going out to have a cultural experience, to hear poetry, to experience art. There's parks where people can go. We don't have those things anymore. So, young adults don't have a cultural outlet.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm at the back of my mind, I still have the story of Nelson Mandela, right? Now, from a story point of view, that is the perfect story.
It is. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, which reminds me, you won an award for playing Mandela.
Yeah, I won Best Actor at the Harlem Film Festival for Mandela's Gun.
I love that.
Yeah.
Imagine, I'm talking about it, and Mataba he's got his fist raised in the air.
There you go. I didn't see him there. Yeah, so I played Nelson Mandela. So I have a great affinity to the man because I had to know his story.
Right.
So when I think about the reason why he is so adored and he's revered and he's an icon and a legend is he gave up a huge part of his life just when it was taking off. You know, Nelson Mandela was very upper middle class. He was a successful lawyer, and he decided to go into military training to start Konto Wesizwe,
right,
the military wing of the ANC. And he left his wife and children. Like, he'd just been married 3 years to Winnie, beautiful woman, beautiful young kids. And he comes back, he gets arrested. First it was for skipping the country. And then they realized this guy was doing all this stuff, so it's treason.
Right.
He faced the death penalty.
Yeah.
And for some reason, and he said, I'm happy to be killed for this. And fortunately, that didn't happen.
Those immortal words, because I think it was Ronnie Casseroles who suggested to him that the wording of his statement to be read at trial should be, and if need be.
Yes, because he was not going to put in the if need.
That's right.
He was going to go, just kill me.
Yes.
He's going to pull a Thabo
I'm
Bester on us. I'm prepared to die. I know we shouldn't put Thabo Bester and Nelson Mandela, but he did say that.
Yeah.
So for someone to say, I'm prepared to die, like he's literally prepared to die, right?
Yeah.
And then they put him in jail for 27 years. So you're totally separated from your family, the people that you know, you're humiliated, all that for 27 years. You come out and you realize, guys, if we go into civil war, if nobody wins, let's get a negotiated settlement. And although we have to now, we're not going to get like free farms, and we're not going to get like a bank that's nationally owned, and everyone just gets a loan
and own all the mines,
bad credit, and own the mines. To what end? Because let's be honest, if the government owns the SABC, all right, which is like an ESCOM, and they used to own, to a large part, Telkom. Did we get free phones from Telkom? Did we get free TVs from SABC? Have we got free electricity from ESCOM? No. Those things are still a business, guys.
Yeah.
So if they nationalize the mines and the banks, it doesn't mean everyone's going to have just free money and free gold.
Yeah.
And that's what the populists are throwing at us, because they're not as honest as Nelson Mandela was.
Yeah.
He knew that that's not what we needed. What we needed was to just be able to be seen as human. Let's just start there.
Oh, yeah. See, that was important because he was starting at home. Because part of that project was to persuade international investors that South Africa is a bankable democracy.
Right.
So we needed to start with each other.
And here we are, like we are able to, as you and I, be sitting in this space in Ilovo, where 30 years ago, it was a place that we weren't really welcome in. You know what I mean? And we can own the streets in a way that the world is really our oyster if we work hard enough. Yes, it's not easy, and you know how it is. It seems to get tougher, but the fundamentals that your children have hope and opportunity, we would not have had that if we'd gone into civil war.
Now imagine, just to continue with that theme of people, how do they entertain themselves? I think a lot of people who are obsessed with this idea that Mandela had sold them out, I don't think they can appreciate the story. I think they're missing the fundamental victory that is inherent in that story of Nelson Mandela, what he fought for, how he gained his freedom, how he became president, how he changed our world in South Africa.
Yeah.
And you want them to explore that. Just look at it as a story. Change the way you see that.
I also think that they are well aware of the story, but what they're trying to do is write their own story by discrediting a good story. They're like critics. They can't write a good story. They'll never be able to write a good story. A lot of the guys who are the biggest critics of Nelson Mandela were never involved in any sort of struggle except maybe a Gucci revolution or a Louis Vuitton struggle. And
struggle to fit into them.
It's exactly. And so for them, it's a matter of trying to undermine what Nelson Mandela did so that we can overlook the fact that they have no real struggle credentials.
Yeah, and I think for most people, that lack is glaringly obvious. But I know that you travel a lot as well, and you are able to get some point of reference of South Africa and South African people from outside, from the perspective of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
They're looking at us in South Africa right now. What are they seeing?
Well, I think there's two sides, or maybe three, but there's a couple of things that I've noticed. One is they recognize that there's something about South Africa and South Africans that, when we say, "Hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie," they see that there's something special about us.
Yeah.
But they're saddened by the fact that we ourselves can't get it together anymore.
Yeah.
And then, to some extent after that, they're kind of disgusted by the fact that we are wasting this opportunity. We've got all the resources in the world. And that is natural resources as well as people resources. To be as amazing as a place that I went to in December, Dubai, and I think we could have been, and we still can be, a place like Dubai if we just stop behaving like we don't understand the basic principles of life, of doing the right thing. I mean, you've been a cop and you've been in law enforcement. Like, just follow the rules, the basic rules. I'm not saying live like a saint, but don't steal, don't rape, don't murder. Delay your gratification. Don't take out more credit than you can afford.
Right. Live within your means.
Live within your means.
Take care of your kids.
Yeah, take care of your kids. That's a good one. And you think that would be like just a normal thing that people would remember to do, but we have to remind them, like, take care of your kids. You see people in the news, like this woman who's got a baby on her back and she's at the tavern all night long, and you're like, what is going on with our society? We've forgotten the fundamentals, and especially don't steal, because if something is not yours, don't take it. Like, here's a phone. I didn't come with it. I don't know whose it is, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk away and leave it where I found it, so that the owner can come back and find it.
Right.
And we don't realize that when we do stuff like that, we get stuck in a poverty mentality. A lot of our issues that are poverty, unemployment, and all those things are because we don't have the basics. When I was growing up, when I was younger, when I was starting out, what I was told was, if you can't find a job, volunteer.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a big deal. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So what I did when I started out was I was just a volunteer. I was just like, I'm putting my hand up. I'll just do whatever. So what does that do? It gives you experience.
Sure.
So if someone says, we just need someone for this and we need 2 years experience, you can be like, I've got 2 years experience of doing this thing, even though I didn't get paid for it.
You've done the work. And that goes back to the Sanele Zulu story as well.
Right.
Amazing. And I'm so glad you volunteered to be my guest tonight.
Thank you.
We are taking a break. We'll be back after this. Back to Reality Radio and Tumisho Masha.
They say nothing ever lasts. But what about the Fast and Furious franchise? Or showing Anaconda 2 for Friday Action Night? Or how Brooke is still forgiving Ridge Forrester like 50 seasons in? And then there's Burger King's Whopper Meal deal, which is still going strong. So get your hands on 2 flame-grilled Whoppers topped with the freshest ingredients, plus 2 portions of crispy golden fries and 2 bottomless drinks for only 130 Rand. Only at Burger King, where good things do last.
We all love a good story. Stories of love and life. Stories that entertain and inspire. And the best stories are the ones that happen to be true. Every Friday night, Jack Devnarain is live in conversation with an iconic South African personality who shares the true stories that shape their remarkable lives. Join us for Reality Radio, as real as it gets. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Friday night, only on 919.
It is Reality Radio on a Friday night. Tumisho Masha with me in studio. We are on 919 talking being a volunteer. Tumisho, imagine that. Hey, so did you volunteer then as a young man working in different kind of places?
I volunteered in such a lot of crazy things. And it was cool because I was like, I know that I have a dream, but I'm young.
Yeah.
So why not explore all these different aspects? I mean, I have volunteered for political parties at rallies and handing out
Yeah.
pamphlets and all sorts of things.
I was wondering where you got the red jacket from. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Except for that, they weren't around when I was young. And I've done different types of jobs that didn't pay much. Most of my acting career starting out was just volunteering. I was like, oh, you got to play? You need an actor? I'm available.
Yeah.
You need a dancer? I'm there. Whatever you needed that was in the arts, I'm there to just give a helping hand. You know, I'll put up a tent if I have to, a circus.
Yeah.
But what that did was it helped me learn about so many different aspects of life. One of my first jobs, which didn't pay very well, it was almost volunteering, but like just gave me a stipend, was working in HR. And I was a data capture clerk.
Okay.
I was very excited at first until I realized that all you're doing is just taking stacks of paper and putting them into a computer.
Right.
But still, it just taught me that work is not always going to be glamorous, and it's not always going to be something that you enjoy. It's just about showing up. If you can keep showing up every day, that's where the magic is, baby. And I thought to myself, if I can get through this, then I can get through anything. And so I just kept going back to work. And it was a matter of whether I'm sick, whether I don't feel like it, whether I'm tired, I just go to work. So now when I'm acting, I always remind myself that I'm doing the job that I dreamed about. So even when it gets mundane, even when I'm bored or tired or exhausted or irritable, I'm like, hang on a second. You prayed for this. Wow. So how amazing is it that you're doing this? I don't miss a day of work.
What was the craziest, most ridiculous, dumbest job you've ever done?
Handing out pamphlets on the side of the road.
Oh,
it was
wow.
absolutely buck wild. It was kind of the middle of Joburg winter. Yeah. And someone had it in their mind. I think it was for a painting company.
Oh, come on, really? Yeah.
And they were like, my friend was very well built. And I just kind of went along with him. And for some reason, they just said, he looks great, so we must both do it with our shirts off.
Oh,
and I was
wow,
like,
okay.
I don't look as nice as him, but you know what? Hopefully it will just rub off on me that I'm standing next to this guy and we're handing out these pamphlets. Yeah. And it was scary because it was cold.
Yeah.
And it was weird. I felt kind of exploited, but I was like, it's work. What am I going to do, you know?
Yeah.
And we handed out these pamphlets for about an hour and decided this is not going to work for us. We chucked them in the bin and went and got pies.
I would have done exactly the same thing. I love it. I love it. I had graduated already. I had finished my degree.
Yeah.
I didn't have work. I was working in a service station. I was pumping petrol. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting, man.
Yes. And I was a driver, somebody's chauffeur. He was an insurance broker, and he needed to rest while we went from one client to the next, driving around northern KZN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't that give you a great sense of respect for the people who pump other people's gas and like people in the service industry? I think it's so important to do things like that.
Yeah. No, and again, you know, because of it's appreciating those moments in our lives is not because we are actors now. It's because we had a sensibility about that from the very beginning. Yeah. Even before we knew that we could become actors. Yeah. We just felt absorb ourselves in this moment.
Yeah. I mean, I worked at a call center once. I was trying to sell, I don't know if it was insurance or investments or something. Yeah. And just like trying to put on this thing, and it was in the old days when we still had yellow pages. So you're like going through, like I've got M-O to M-U.
Oh, hell, you were cold calling.
You're cold calling.
Oh, wow.
And like in the evening, 6:30 at night. Hello? Hi. Can I? And they're like, I'm having dinner. Go to hell.
Shut up.
But it was just that thing of, it gives me a great appreciation for people who are in the service industry. So I'm not saying that you must call me and try and sell me insurance or another cell phone contract. But I sometimes go, I know what it's like to be on the other side of that line. I know what it's like, even though I've never been a petrol attendant, I've been a waiter. So I know what it's like to serve someone. So when someone serves me, to just be polite, man, you know?
Yeah. That costs nothing.
And be appreciative that this person came to work today to serve you. How privileged are you? How awesome is your life? Yeah. And how grateful must you be to this person for doing it with such dignity and nobility?
I was selling gym contracts.
That's a tough gig.
from a gym in Pinetown.
Yeah. Wasn't even like, what was it? Health and Racket.
No. I think that this was like, it was called Sharper Image or something back
Oh,
then.
yeah.
And one of the big selling points, and they took me through this whole script that I had to learn, is that you could even bequeath it to somebody. You can put it in your will.
Wow. Okay.
You know, and
Yeah.
leave it for somebody else.
Yeah.
And it was, that just stuck with me, of all the things that all the benefits you had of being a member of this gym. That's the one thing that I thought was absolutely the most ridiculously random thing
Yeah.
to try to use as a selling point.
It sounds pretty good.
I am going through the phone book just like you did.
Yeah, and calling people.
I phone this house, and this woman answers. She's obviously upset, emotional, and I say, "Is there something wrong?" "No, it's my husband, and he died, and we're having the funeral." And I thought, "Oh my God!"
This would be a good time.
I said, "Listen, if he had taken the Sharper Image membership, he could have put it in the."
How did it go? Did she buy?
For some reason, she didn't want to buy.
I mean,
I thought, what
you
a
gave us
wasted-
such a good deal.
What a wasted opportunity, lady.
I mean, we've done some things, man. But you haven't worked as a grown-up until you've done network marketing and try to
yes.
sell that to your friends and family. Like, until you've told someone, I've got a business deal, I've got a business proposition for you, but I can't tell you what it is. I need you to come and meet me at the Wimpy
Come for a presentation.
and come for this presentation.
Yeah.
You haven't lived.
No, that I think I would want to give up life at that point.
You've lived enough.
No more.
No more life. Yeah.
No more. But it's so humbling, though. You know, you go through all these experiences, wild and random and mundane as they are, but it stays in you. You know,
Yeah.
it informs so much. Also, because are you sympathetic with people who live the corporate life as an employee? The absolute rigidity of waking up at a certain time, you're driving the same route to get to the same office to talk to the same boss, and
Yeah.
you're driving back again. How do you feel about those people?
Having experienced it, now, you know, my father was a corporate type
Yeah.
his whole life, and he was the best at it. He was amazing. I mean, that's what put us all through school. That's what put my
Sure.
mom through med school. That's what changed our life.
Wow.
And I have a lot of respect for the man to be able to say, this has to, this, he like the same enthusiasm I have for going to work as an
Yeah.
actor, he had that for his corporate job.
That's
because
amazing.
for him it was like, this is how I make sure that my children never have to be poor.
Yeah.
You know,
And
they don't
here
have
we
to
are.
live the life that I lived as a kid. Because I know that his first job was, he was 9 years old doing other people's gardens. So I got a lot of respect for the working person through that by seeing my dad wake up every morning, drive from Soshanguve to Sandton. And I used to, and you know,
What?
for 6 months, I drove that route with him. It took us 3 hours
Yes, man.
in the traffic. And he's driving like a manual. So, you know, those old VWs with
Oh,
the heavy
yeah, yeah,
clutches. The whole way to Sandton for 3 hours and the whole way back to Soshanguve at night for another, so 6 hours on the road and 8 hours at work. I was like mind blown that this guy does it every day and he has a smile on his face when he gets to work and he doesn't come home and
Oh,
kick the
man.
dog.
Perspective,
Yeah.
man.
So for me, I have a lot of respect for people who that's what they've chosen as their path, because not all of us are going to be artists. Not all of us are going to be CEOs or start our own business. We need people to be in those offices and do those 9 to 5s. And I have a lot of respect for people who do that every day.
Yeah. Could you do that?
If I had to, I would.
You would? Yeah.
I
yeah.
would.
No, sure.
I think for me, I think work is very noble. So work
Yeah.
is work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could definitely do that. But I would prefer to do what I do.
Absolutely. And it also goes back to the point you made about Mandela's injunction to us was pitch up, play your part. As he says, the future is in your hands.
Yeah.
So is it a natural fit for you to go from actor to producer? Because a lot of people seem to think that it's a kind of a promotion to be able to do that. But when you tell people, no, some people just act until they can't act anymore, they feel kind of surprised. What was that transition like for you?
I think that also we have to give a lot of people respect who want to act until they want to act no more.
Sure.
That's what I would love to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's my retirement plan.
Yeah.
I got into producing because I kind of thought it was easier on the other side, and I soon realized being a producer is like being in the service industry. You're a servant. You get paid last. You are at work first. You leave last. You have to carry everybody's burdens and stress and pressure, and you can't pass it on. You have to be a sponge.
Yeah.
You take the pressure and take the pressure and take the pressure, and only at the end of the day you squeeze the sponge out and come back and do it again.
Oh man, that describes so much. It's so descriptive what you say. So, what are some of the challenges that a producer has to manage when it comes to his actors? Because as actors, we take a lot for granted as well, right?
Yeah, I think what a producer has to manage is, one, personalities. I think that's super important because a lot of actors come with a lot of baggage, and I think artists sometimes forget that we're still at work. This is work, you know. Yes, I know that we're artists, and it's nice to think that we, it's my thing, it's my craft, but it's work, it's a job, it's a gig.
Yeah.
Come to work, just do your job, and then go home.
Yeah.
Don't bring your childhood trauma with you that has to be like part of your persona, because I think it just makes life harder for everyone else. Don't be a diva.
Yeah.
You know. And also producers have to deal have to know the industry, the laws, the norms. And it's so different between cast and crew. Like, the regulations for cast are different to the regulations for crew. The temperament of cast is different to the temperament of crew. And you've got to manage all of that all the time. And you've got to be the go-between between all these people who are making this thing happen and the money people, the suits, the greys, the business people who need to see a bottom line.
I just think I don't know how you manage the risk. That for me would keep me up at night. The risk a producer has to take on.
Yeah. Look, I'm a super optimistic person. I did a personality test the other day. And I found out that what my dad always said, I'm impulsive because I think that it will be better. I always think things are going to get better. I know we've just lost everything, baby. But if you let me do this one more time, let me put the house up again. Right? I wish I started this sooner, because it gets harder to do as well when you get older. But yeah, it's just being able to take that risk, and if it fails, be able to pick yourself up and try again. But it's exactly like acting. Ultimately, if you can't take rejection, being in the arts and entertainment is the wrong business for you.
I cannot believe you're saying that. You have one of the best hit rates in the country as a performer, and you're talking about, I understand rejection. No, you don't.
I do. I get rejected all the time, guys. For every 5 auditions I go to, I get 2 productions.
That's amazing. But then again, this is Tumisho Masha, actor, producer, and my really good friend. I cannot believe the hour has gone by so quickly.
Yeah, that was quick.
But all the best to you, our loving audience. Have a great
Thank you so
weekend.
much.
This is me, Jack Devnarain, and telling you that we'll be back next Friday on 919 with Reality Radio.